Welcome to the episode 21 summary of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Now, Finnegans Wake, you've probably heard of it, right? It's that book, the one that's legendary for being, well, impossible. It's like a literary Everest. But what if I told you that hidden inside all that chaos, there's actually a surprisingly simple story? Well, in this explainer, we're going to find it.
I mean, you're reading along and you hit a line like this one. It looks like a total mess of broken Irish and broken German. Swabbing, Brogan Irish, myth Brocken Deutsch. Your first instinct might be to just, throw the book across the room. It feels like complete and utter nonsense.
But here's the secret, and this is the key to the whole thing. You are supposed to be confused. That feeling is exactly what Joyce was going for. He's building an entire world out of the very material of language itself. And, yeah, sometimes that's going to be messy and disorienting. You're not failing. You're actually getting the intended experience.
And that is the real magic of Finnegans Wake. If you can just hang on through the word storm, you'll find these simple, powerful, almost mythic stories buried underneath. So that's our mission today. Let's peel back the layers of this incredible puzzle and find the story together.
All right, let's dive right in. First up, the man behind the gate. We're going to meet our hero and get a handle on the very strange situation he's found himself in. And it all kicks off with, you guessed it, a man and a gate.
So who is this guy? His name is Humphrey Chimpden Earwicker, which is a bit of a mouthful, so we usually just call him by his initials, HCE. And this stands for Here Comes Everybody. Joyce wants us to see him as this universal figure. He's a father, a husband, a pub owner, a sinner. Basically, he's supposed to represent all of us. He's the everyman at the center of this crazy dream.
So, what's actually happening here? If you strip away all the linguistic fireworks, the plot is shockingly simple. A man, our guy HCE, is locked inside his own house. His gate is triple pet-locked on him, and here's the best part. It's supposedly for his own protection, to stop him from tempting gracious providence.
And check out how Joyce builds this scene. This is where he's just a magician. He doesn't just say a gate. He calls it a stone-hinged gate. Instantly, you're thinking of Stonehenge, right? Ancient, mythic, powerful. But then, in the same breath, he places it in Sauerstadt Erin, the official name for the Irish Free State at the time. Boom! Just like that, thousands of years of history, ancient Britain and modern Ireland are fused into one single image. So our hero's locked up inside. And that's when the conflict arrives from the outside. Let's talk about an accuser's angry tirade. A mysterious and very, very angry visitor shows up at the gate, and he has a major beef with HCE.
Now, this isn't just some casual shouting match. This is a full-blown performance of rage. The visitor lays out this very clear 3-part plan of attack. First, I will break his Bolshevigger's head for him. Okay? Second, I will break the gauge over his lanky duckling head. So he's going to break the gate over his head. And finally, and this is truly chilling, he says he'll give him his thicker-than-water to drink, meaning he's going to make him drink his own blood.
And get this. This wasn't a quick outburst. This was a siege. Joyce's notes actually lay out a timeline. The guy shows up around 10:30 a.m. demanding a drink. By 11:30, the wrath floods of his artillery of insults, are fully firing. And it goes on all the way until 2 in the afternoon. Joyce even notes, without even a luncheonette interval. This is a relentless, non-stop assault.
And that brings us to the main event, the heart of the attack. The visitor doesn't just threaten violence, he unleashes what I can only describe as a verbal weapon of mass destruction. It is a massive, hilarious, and bizarre list of insults. This is history as insult comedy.
How massive, you ask? Well, the final tally comes to 113. 113 different, creative, and often totally baffling insults. Joyce is literally throwing the entire history of language and culture at HCE just to see if he'll crack.
He's called a bogside beauty. Weirs.
Funny face.
The man who hooshed the cat from the bacon. And of course, a peculiar person. And it just keeps going, this torrent of names, each one a tiny little story of accusation packed inside.
So you have to be wondering, where on earth does he come up with this stuff? Take this insult, left boot sent on approval. What does that even mean? Well, get this, it's not gibberish. It's lifted directly from a real ad in an Irish newspaper from 1924 for women's farm boots. You could send in 9 pence and stamps to get 1 boot sent to your house on approval. This is Joyce's method in a nutshell. He's taking the junk mail of his day, the most random, disposable bits of writing, and weaving them into his epic. For him, everything is material.
So you've got this overwhelming verbal hurricane battering the gate, the storm of history and insults. How does our hero, HCE, possibly respond? What's his grand strategy? Well, this is the power of passive resistance. He does nothing. Absolutely nothing. He just sits there in his conservatory, long-suffering although whitening under restraint, and doesn't say a single word. Joyce writes that he did not respond a solitary wedge word. It is the ultimate act of passive resistance. A storm of language is met with a solid wall of silence.
And his reason for staying quiet? Oh, it's just as weird and wonderful as the attack itself. When he finally speaks, HCE explains that a Dominican mission was happening nearby, and he thought that maybe, just maybe, the power of the Holy Rosary would kind of drift over and magically reform his attacker. It's such a beautifully strange and deeply human excuse for doing nothing.
So let's zoom out. What does this all add up to? This whole scene isn't just about some guy getting yelled at through a gate. It's really about language itself being put on trial. It's about how a reputation can be attacked with words and offended by, well, the lack of them.
It all boils down to this fundamental conflict. On one side, you've got the attack, this loud, public, violent storm of over 100 insults, language being used as a weapon. And on the other side, the defense, private, quiet, passive silence, a solitary wedge word. It's language as a weapon versus the complete absence of language as a shield.
And that leads us to the big, thorny question Joyce just leaves hanging in the air. HCE is facing a world that is desperately trying to define him with words, to pin him down with all these labels. His response is to refuse to use words himself. But in a universe that is literally made of language, like the world of Finnegans Wake, is that silence a powerful defense? Or is it just another way of admitting you're guilty? That's the puzzle at the very heart of The Man at the Gate.